Okay.
Yes, hello. So this is going to be a quick demo of how to do a squash and rebase of a pull request. So Ferruccio has done a great PR which adds RPM support to the APOSD. And that means you can now display RPM here. So you've got the RPM displaying up here, 1465 revs per minute. And it's a great feature. But like many PRs, it doesn't follow our coding guide. And I thought I'd record this call and put it up to help people understand how to do the little fix-ups you need to do for the ArduPilot coding guide. So there's a few little problems with the PR. One is that it's against a release branch, the Copter 4.4. And the way we do things in ArduPilot is all new features go against master, and then we backport them to the release branch. So we just need to shift that to be on against master to get the initial PR in. And next thing we know is something that's very, very common in PRs is that it's got a number of fix-up commits. And we require that it be a commit per subsystem or a commit per or one or two commits per subsystem in ArduPilot. So this first one's fine. This is a APOSD commit, and it just changes files in APOSD, so that's all good. But the other three are fix-ups where Ferruccio has fixed up a couple of issues in the PR with the discussion that I've had with him. And so we just need to squash those back into the main one. Now, so I'm going to use the command line. So I've checked out Ferruccio's branch here, this RPM OSD branch, and I'm using a little thing in my bash prompt to show me what branch I'm on. So what I'm going to do is I'm first of all going to go back to master, and then I'm going to pull minus rebase to make sure that my master is up to date. And now I'm going to create a new branch against this. So this is going to be PR RPM OSD. And I'm going to cherry pick in the little changes that Ferruccio has made. So I'm going to use git k. I normally use git k for cherry picking, but there are lots of different ways to do it. So what I'm going to do is cherry pick in that that patch which went in cleanly. Then I'm going to cherry pick in each of his fixes. 1, 2, 3. Great. So we now have, if I've got a little alias git pending. If you're ever wondering about some of the git commands I run, I have a little config directory I keep, uab.trigital.config, and my git config is there. And you'll see in my git config, I have, this is a .git config, goes in your home directory. I've got all sorts of aliases like pending, shows me what patches I've got on this branch that are pending. And you'll notice I use git co as an alias for checkout, etc. So if you're ever curious about my git commands and why they're a bit shorter than the usual ones, it's because I use this git config. All right, so, and my little bash RC thing that gives the git branch in the prompt is also there in my config folder. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, so if I do that git pending, I see I've got 4 patches, and I'm going to do what's called an interactive rebase to squash them. So that's git rebase -i for interactive. And I'm going to say I want the last 5 commits to be in my rebase buffer. So it brings up my editor, and there's those patches. So the little instructions here, so F is a fix-up. So these 3 little patches are what's called fix-up patches. So I click on that and go F for fix-up, F and F. And so now that is the main commit, and these 3 are the fix-ups. So I exit this buffer, and now if we do git pending, we've got a single commit. So there we are with a single nice little commit there against the OSD. All good, have a look at it. It looks like exactly what we want. Now, because Ferruccio's done the right thing when he opened the PR and he didn't untick the thing about allowing forced pushes, notice that I, as a developer of ArduPilot, it has add more commits by pushing to the RPM OSD branch. That's because Ferruccio allowed maintainers to push to his branch. So I can now push to Ferruccio's branch and push this to his RPM OSD, and it'll need to be a forced push because I'm changing, it's not a fast forward, I'm not just adding patches. All right, so I'll do that little push. Great. Now, if I update this thing in a few seconds, this should show as a single commit. It still shows as, there it is, but notice it's got 852 commits. That's not what we want. And the reason that's wrong is it's still showing it against Copter 4.4. So we just pop in there and say this should be against master. And there we are. Now we have a single commit. There's that nice single commit, which does exactly what we want. There's the patch from Ferruccio, and it's all good to go. Now we just need to wait for CI to pass on this. So it'll be doing CI in a few seconds, and I can do a quick code review, make sure it looks good. So it brings in RPM config, it adds a new rotor RPM setting in the OSD, then it draws it, and there's the parameters, and here's the function that draws the RPM, and if it's got an RPM sensor, then it gets it and it displays it there, and that looks great using symbol RPM, so it gets the nice little revs per minute symbol there. And then it draws the setting, looks great. So I can now approve that. And all looks good. So now I will mark it, however, as needs testing because we've changed it against master. So it'd be great if you can test it, Ferruccio, make sure it's still good.
Sure.
And once you've confirmed it's tested, then we'll mark it as merge on CI pass and we'll merge it in. And that is it.
That's great. Yeah.
So any questions about that?
No, it's all clear. Thanks very much for your time, first of all. And
yeah, no worries. Thanks for the PR.
I will try and do a test flight as soon as possible with a video so we can see.
Fantastic. Yep, a testing in Siddle would be fine for merging the PR. So absolutely fine. This real flight test, no problem at all.
I can do that straight away. Yeah.
Yep, that'd be great. Then we'll get it merged in, and a nice feature. Thank you. So for people who are watching, I mean, I was using Emacs and command line Git. You can also do all that with other tools. A lot of people like something called Git Kraken, which a lot of users use, and there's a lot of other Git tools. Personally, I use the Git command line, and I have my editor as Emacs, and it's got this Git mode in Emacs. But there are, so if I come up with this branch, then this shows me what's been changed, etc. And so I'll just do a git surf to get it. I've got an alias git surf that does the submodule updates. So that's the way I work, but there are lots of other ways of using Git. And if you just do a bit of a search on the internet, you'll find lots of other Git tools that are able to do the same thing. All good. So you have a great day, Ferruccio, and thanks for the PR, and we'll talk again.
Thank you. Yes, for sure. Thank you very much for your time.
Right. Bye.